Campers, it's me, Ari Lehman, the first Jason Voorhees. From Friday the 13th, I'm here with AJ, and he's got the juiciest slice ready for you. It's dripping with blood. Jason never dies.
What makes a horror film kill memorable, terrific, even in some way profound or poignant? Let's explore. Thanks for checking this out. If anything about it trips your fancy, please like, subscribe, and share.
Yes.
Without further ado...
Did the guy say anything else?
No, just said he worked with a kid named Eddie that he thought lived here. He did say that the kid hated washing dishes.
That flushes in no way a commentary on the quality of the film, and is probably more of an insight into the mind space of serial killer Eddie Quist. That he didn't care for doing dishes tracks. Psychopaths are vehemently opposed to dishwashing in all its forms, because the only busy work they do involves getting their hands dirty, not clean, and Eddie's hands are blood-stained permanently. This must have been what they were describing when they wrote the chapter in the textbook about the layers of psychos. No doubting this was the killer's roost, but since he's a body in a morgue, after forcing police to open fire, there's no harm, no foul in poking around.
Charming.
Oh, yeah.
Terri and her significant other Christopher are investigating for the sake of their friend and co-worker, television news reporter Karen, who is the bait and a sting to lure out Eddie, an obsessed deviant known to leave a yellow smiley face sticker as his calling card. The encounter culminated in some sort of weirdness that broke Karen's mind, leaving her a shell-shocked amnesiac and Eddie full of bullet holes. Trying to get to the root of her issues involves tracing the anarchistic sexual predator.
Oh, just your average red-blooded all-American boy.
Cue fantastic foreshadowing. A fine how do you do. Terri's able to keep her wits about her despite a good startle, an important hint at the strength of her resolve. Surrounded by newspaper clippings of murder stories, likely the killer wallowing in his crimes, and striking wolf imagery, the conclusion Terri draws about Eddie is right on the money.
Could have designed the Marquis de Sade coloring book.
Of course, she doesn't know the half of it.
Karen, look at this.
Eddie captured the news lady's likeness very well. Were he not a sadistic life eradicator, she not a faithful married woman with a drive toward the vanilla, and they were on an ocean steamer about to collide with an iceberg, clearly sparks instead of bullets would have flown.
Look at this.
Between his ability to capture likenesses and landscapes, and a dark and convoluted imagination, the man could have penned some wild graphic novels. But serial killers don't tend to spread their devotion enough to commit to such work.
Wonder if this is a real place.
Seems like the answer to that might come at a great cost, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. They take their discovery to a renowned therapist, one Dr. George Wagner, for insight into the killer who dabbled rather successfully in art, for a guy obviously distracted with a lot of inner turmoil and sexual angst.
For this sort of person, they're controlled by the right hemisphere of the brain.
Of course, it's all a clue that he taps more into the wild side of the mind, where art and craziness can brew.
That dominates the non-rational, the artistic, the creative impulses.
Dr. Wagner knows a lot about this stuff. He even owns and operates a remote retreat called The Colony, tucked away in the majestic forest of the Pacific Northwest. A perfect getaway to unwind and decompress if treatment for mental issues is in the cards. It will soon play a huge role in the proceedings.
We're trying to push Fred for a half-hour special called The Mind of Eddie Quist, although we're focusing really on the beast in all of us.
No matter what, Karen won't be hosting the special. Even her regular duties are beyond her scope since the incident with Eddie. And when she pushes her limitations, she needs to be escorted away from the anchor desk, because her fragile mental state means right now she can't hack the pressure. Her mind a battlefield of the half-remembered and terrifying.
keeping with this station's pledge of community involvement, we present an editorial from...
The idea is floated that some time at the colony might do Karen a world of good, so she and her husband Bill head up there. Meanwhile, Terri and Chris continue to try and get to the bottom of this Eddie Quist business and decide to pay him a visit in the morgue.
Real quiet all of a sudden.
Quiet as a morgue.
Morgues aren't all that quiet, actually.
Let's see. Quist is still with John Doe's. We haven't had time to refile him.
That morgue attendant has the air of a man who could write a bevy of great scripts over a long career, and to think he cuts up dead bodies all day, giving him a whimsical sense of gallows humor.
Visitors, Eddie!
This is it. They get to see Eddie's bullet-riddled corpse.
Where is he?
You have to feel bad for the poor schlep who had to clean up. Guessing there was some stank gamier than the usual reek of decay in there because breaking out had to be some majorly sweaty work.
He was here this morning.
God, look at the door.
Their reaction is out of proportion with the situation, but then the implications are too unbelievable to even entertain.
You don't suppose somebody could have stolen him, do you? Well, he didn't get up and walk out on his own.
Tell that to this guy.
Yeah, see you tomorrow.
Irrational answers are easy to dismiss even when absolute evidence is presented, because in the workaday world, such claptrap is confined to imagination, since none of that is real. That is unless, of course, you're a bookseller looking to move product, thus willing to humor any nonsense if it means a sale.
Your classic werewolf can change shape any time it wants, day and night, whenever it takes a notion to. That's why I call them shapeshifters. I got a dozen books on it.
This might be a good time to take notes.
What about killing it with silver bullets?
Oh, sure. Silver bullets are fire. It's the only way to get rid of the damn things.
Good question. Pertinent answer.
Look at this. Silver bullets. Some joker ordered them. 3006. Never picked them up.
Those are 30-06 shells, so big game bullets, which makes a lot of sense. Kinda gotta wonder what happened to the guy who commissioned them and then never returned. Did he wind up on a werewolf dinner menu? It seems more than likely.
Yes, that's the sign of the werewolf. That's just a legend, though, isn't it? Yes, but like most legends, it must have some basis in fact.
Research never ends, even in bed, but it's a phone call that will cost them sleep.
You're kidding me. No, listen, we'll come right up, okay?
Terri can't believe her ears.
Bill just got bitten by a wolf.
Terri heads up to the colony to shower Karen with consolation and is met with a warm welcome.
Hello, good friend. Hello. You okay?
Karen relates how she worries her husband is being lured away by a long-term colony guest, Marcia the Man-Eater, this tall drink of smoky liqueur.
I'm looking for my wife.
Which is a particularly appropriate nickname since she devours men in more than one way. Karen's concerns might have merit. Men can put their needs before the feelings of their women, and that puts Karen in a quandary. Having dropped the key to her chastity belt down a sewer grate after her bad experience, Karen lacks the means to fulfill his desire, and experiences a visceral reaction when pressed.
No! I'm sorry.
Terri doesn't know all that, and offers her the kind of reassurance you solicit from your friends.
Karen, you sound fine.
Despite being wolf-bit, Bill is in fine spirits.
Bill, I'm really sorry. I totally forgot about you not eating meat.
And forgoes the no-meat diet he had adopted to gobble down ribs like a wolf snout deep in entrails.
I get hungry enough, I'll eat anything.
That night, no rest for the weary, Terri is woken to a chorus. That even Dracula can appreciate.
Children of the night, what music they make.
Terri has the foresight to capture the posturing of the wilds. Market value at a werewolf cult proving as high as it seemed, off in the woods, by the light of a bonfire, Marcia and Bill consummate their scandalous attraction. Having been marked by and lured in by a woman who misplaced her chastity belt long ago, Bill gets his needs met while simultaneously transforming into a werewolf for the first time. What kind of protection would you even use? I, for one, wouldn't want to end up with a litter of puppies. Who else has sex so good they turn animated? That's a common occurrence connected to good sex, right? Not just a schizophrenic response? No? That's weird? Not usual? We'll move on. In the dawn's early light, Terri listens to the all-werewolf choir sing the world's most beloved love songs. I believe that's their rendition of Can't Get Enough of Your Love, Babe. Terri goes exploring and happens upon an intriguing sight, confirming her earlier suspicion. Conspicuously, the landscape is a real place, and it's at the colony, which ties the fiendish killer to the place. Coincidences can be baffling, even mind-bending, which is from whence we get the notion of synchronicity, but this probably isn't the coincidence it seems, right? Trekking through woods so magnificent they seem sourced from a fairy tale. Which makes a lot of sense, seeing as how monsters be lurking. This is probably when she should abscond from the area, but even with all the evidence pointing to one conclusion, in the real world, the fun, far-fetched supernatural explanation is always chased into its place by the boring, cut-and-dry, rational explanation, like so many Scooby-Doo unmaskings collectively chiseled away at my childhood. So she's game to explore, despite seeing enough to intuit danger could be imminent. Disembodied forest voice, huh? There is a proper reaction to this.
What the fuck?
This hoodoo new to her, the calling captures her attention.
Over here, Terri.
Maybe a little mesmerized, maybe just intent on finding answers, Terri pursues the enticement. And soon comes to the abode of someone quite at home in this rustic setting. This is Marcia the Man-Eater's lair, and it becomes apparent her diet consists of a lot more than just men. Terri's intrepidness comes to the forefront as her trespassing becomes more blatant. Intruding or not, the lady exhibits some real bravery, but peeking in on those who might not take so kindly to trespassers is never the smartest move. Bone wind chimes, huh? I would say the Texas Chainsaw Massacre influence never ends, but as a country boy, I know such sights are common even among those who would never watch a horror film. It's just homespun decoration in rural parts, so not a bad sign, surprisingly, in and of itself. What she does next might be crossing one boundary too many.
Hello?
When she chooses to enter without consent.
Anybody here?
Oh, of course there's a can of Wolf's brand chili, made from the good parts. The happy face returns. And Terri finds herself in a room very much like Eddie's hole back in the city. No sooner than she's snapping off photos, someone or something comes knocking. Terri has to move fast. Options few. She has no choice other than to get out of there any way she can. They say fortune favors the bold. And Terri's rewarded with a hatchet before quickly entrenching herself. Where she's certain to find safety. The thing about werewolves, usual barricades don't stand in the way of them bursting through. Unreinforced walls are trivial at best when compared to their might. Terri's survival instincts are off the charts because she wastes no time doing what's necessary. Lopping off a limb, chopping right through muscle, tendons, and bone, toot sweet. It's a safe bet Wheaties factored into her breakfast. What she sees next really throws her for a loop. Sprinting back through the woods like a wolf is nipping at her heels. She returns to Dr. Wagner's compound. And quickly makes her way to his office to call in reinforcements. Unaware she is observed by a voyeuristic werewolf looking to make a memory. Terri gets through to Chris.
Christopher, you're not gonna believe this.
And immediately baffles him with the jibber-jabber of what she's learned.
And Eddie Quist, he lives there.
Look, calm down. You're not making any sense. Eddie Quist is dead.
Terri presses on, making him understand.
I saw pictures just like we saw in his room. Christopher.
By connecting all the dots.
The landscape? It's here at the colony.
Chris, likely foreseeing his need to come to her, confirms her whereabouts.
Where are you, at Doc's?
Yeah.
Stating what's become quite obvious.
I think he's got to be a part of this.
Chris needs to know if she's okay enough to hang in there.
Yeah, I am. I'm okay. It sure was good to hear your voice.
And has her explore possible evidence.
Look in the files under Quist.
Okay.
Still freaked out but accommodating.
Okay, hold on. Never mind, you're coming with me.
She finds the final pieces of the puzzle. This clever bit of foreshadowing telegraphs that Terri's gameness has landed her in real trouble.
Quist Marcia. Quist TC.
Seeing all the truth, all she can do is say,
Oh, Christopher.
Before Eddie reveals himself in all his wolfy glory.
It's Eddie.
And shows what a piece of work he really is by getting all rough. And out of control.
Terri?
A strange way to bring about a complete undoing. The phone dangles.
Terri?
So Chris is hearing the harrowing attack. Terri attempts to dazzle the beast in a last-ditch effort to escape. But it proves a meager and futile gesture as the bright light has little effect. Chris places a call to local law enforcement and gets hollow reassurance.
I wouldn't worry, Mr. Howling. I'm sure she's safe.
Conspirator much? With Terri at the beast's mercy. There's no time for rescue, and Eddie demonstrates the deep depth of his savagery, ending her life. No getting out of this one by the skin of her teeth. One good bite, and it's over for the lady who refused to back down. Facing the ultimate crisis, Chris mans up big time, showing the city doesn't stamp out all the wild parts of a man, and will see to the downfall of the entire colony for daring to hurt his friends and kill his lady love.
So those are real silver. I gotta check in with a jeweler to find out what to charge.
Bill me!
Man needs to balance his own accounts.
What's extraordinary is in the eye of the beholder. It can be in the satisfying payoff of an exquisite lead-up, the shock of a strident character's ultimate downfall before the forces of evil, the scintillating special effects that bring to life something marvelous, or it can really go for the glory by mashing up all three and giving the audience a real humdinger of an exit by offering up a fully realized werewolf as one big and hairy exclamation point. Terry's journey is one of concern and curiosity, a combination that grants greater meaning, dimension, and import. Were she merely a photojournalist chasing a story, her ambition would reveal a flawed character, because it would be unreasonable to risk her personal safety chasing after what turns out to be lycanthropes.
It's real.
Because she is motivated by a desire to offer her traumatized friend peace of mind and get the story while she's at it, she comes off as honorable, conscientious, dependable, devoted, and a solid multitasker, instead of obstinate, foolhardy, and overly ambitious.
Well, I'm sincerely glad to hear that, for all our sakes.
Sidled by stark reality, that chain that holds most of us to the ground, despite all the evidence, she was unable to acknowledge the truth until it was too late. The second she chose to go in that cabin and take pictures, she signed her own death warrant. Since she suspected Dr. Wagner's involvement, sticking around his compound after the initial werewolf attack was a grand-scale miscalculation. Don't call Chris. Try to collect Karen and Bill and get the hell out of there.
This is asinine!
Attributable to emotional distress, the way she reacted was in the wake of a huge shock, one that actively rewrote everything she believed about the natural world, which would be a mind-bending stunner to most, so she can't be blamed for not acting in the exact right manner that might have saved her life. The very action of performing an impromptu amputation had to leave her with lasting trauma. Mounting that kind of defense is only easy in speculation, imagination, and drunken boasting. You never consider over breakfast that this might be the day you're going to be tasked with chopping off a creature's limb, and then watching it revert back into the hand of a man. All things considered, it was maybe a miracle that she got away in the first place. It's an easy guess that she failed to consider that even though a werewolf might come off like and appear to be a wild animal, they can work a doorknob, they can go inside, and unlike their vampire contemporaries, don't even require an invitation.
I can't,
All on its own, the werewolf's full-on reveal is spectacle at its best, offering a fully realized monstrosity able, as it were, to stand on its own 2 feet. Putting on display the creme de la creme of the day's practical effects. Whichever kill that grandiose of a reveal was used in service to would have been granted extraordinary status on that alone. Anyone who likes werewolves probably enjoyed this thing just because of how good it looks and moves and overall simulates life, in a way never before seen at the time of the film's release.
Shut up and take my money!
Between this film, a satirical romp trotting out the conventions to lambast both old and new, and an American Werewolf in London, an earnest yet humorous rehashing of the standard tragic werewolf tale, recontextualized to reflect modern times, a high standard was set in the werewolf subgenre, a pair of templates cast that are still homaged, emulated, and parodied to this day. Terri went looking to figure Eddie out, to learn his secrets, and she bit off more than she could chew when he decided to take a bite out of her. The twisted brute was a character riding the edge, a bad influence who succumbed to the baser desires of the beast within, becoming recognized as a human serial killer because he couldn't contain himself and had to exercise his fetishes on others, including Karen, a woman he saw on TV and coveted as a possession to mold into his perfect submissive. The werewolf packer cult was experiencing a schism. On one side, Dr. Wagner,
Times have changed, and we haven't.
who recognized the truth. Either the werewolves adapt and suppress their beastlier instincts, or risk exposure to a quickly modernizing human world. And Eddie, who believed anything half wild has no choice but to give in to the animalistic side of the equation, and let the beast run loose and free, and led others to see things his way. A sure death sentence. Why would I say that? The world of mankind is vast, and civilization takes no prisoners. Scratch that with a werewolf claw. Prisoners are taken, but it's in a bid to understand, which usually involves dissection. Anomalies, especially that hunt and kill, themselves become the hunted. Eddie, maybe the majority of the werewolves,
You can't tame what's meant to be wild, Doc. It ain't natural.
felt it a humiliation to knuckle under, failing to heed Dr. Wagner's warning that they needed to change with the times. They stubbornly wanted to hold the line, to plant their feet and dig in their claws, remain confined in the primeval past, where survival of the fittest was all that mattered, not realizing that would still apply the second humans clued into their activity, only they would never be allowed to be at the top of the food chain when advanced weaponry exists. Humans reach the apex, and short of aliens or metahumans with unmatched powers, won't be supplanted. The Nazis guaranteed that by forcing the creation of the atomic bomb.
Call it overzealousness.
Phooey on the werewolves who refused to evolve. Eddie's hubris doomed them all. Impatiently targeting the able and courageous Terri, at least wait until the phone call was over. He created the situation that would get them all killed by a vengeful Chris, brandishing silver bullets and fire. Moral failings aplenty. It wasn't his moral turpitude that was the true cause of his and ultimately their downfall. It was that he was a serial killer burning out, desperately wanting to be seen by the source of his fixation, and willing to blow up and destroy whatever to get his way. What separates a sadosexual thrill killer from a predator sating its instinct? In this case, not a lot, but only because Eddie eschews the unwritten rule of carnivores, to kill only for protection and food. Sure, there can be occasional victims of overzealous play, but for the most part predators aren't wasteful, hunting willy-nilly. Eddie, hunting for sport, pleasure, and to fulfill his desires, threw off a careful balance, and made what in one sense was a natural thing no different from any animal, into a bona fide monster. They weren't cornered until he let impatience rule his actions. That was pure carelessness and stupidity. And why? The guy had a real volatility problem. Maybe his acute sense made him too aware of pheromones all around and it drove him to madness. Perhaps blood sugar or dehydration issues had some bearing. Either would play hell on a man with psychopathic leanings, intertwined with sick yearnings. Here gratification through gory murder.
Listen to this part here.
The BDSM aspect wasn't on its own the problem. A little bondage, a little slap and tickle can be exciting. People have the right to explore sexuality however they choose.
Hey, as long as they're consenting adults.
It was the bloodlust, the brutal killing part that made him a freak of nature in need of being put down, not only for the benefit of his prey, but his own kind. The adage, the lion may be more powerful but the wolf does not perform in the circus, applies here beautifully, because it articulates perfectly that wolves, and by extension werewolves, won't jump through hoops no matter what.
We can fit in, you said. We can live with them. You make me sick.
This speaks to Lightning Rod Eddie's disorganized and spontaneous nature. The importance of making Terri a victim was so paramount, it was worth selling out his kind. This might be commentary on how, for as bad as humans can be, Our greater capacity for compassion and empathy is truly what separates us from the wild things.
She's got a sexy voice. I like a woman with a sexy voice.
Unfortunately, civilization includes at least some captivity, but it also provides the social safety net of community and friends that may also in some way exist in a werewolf pack or cult, but through their lack of cohesion, agreement, and unity, they review the openings in the mesh of their net are too large to save any from falling through and going splat on the hard ground below. On the other hand, since she was playing with forces beyond her ken, Terri's tenacity and admirable trait in a success-driven culture led her to the heart of this particular werewolf group's world and got her killed. So a society closed off to entertaining all things supernatural did her no favors.
Oh, Lord.
Diving to whatever depths necessary to fish out the truth, that Terri's last name was Fisher was clever shorthand indicating the root of her nature, only she speared something bigger than she expected, something big enough to take a big fatal bite out of her.
God help us!
Well, I've about reached the end of the rope, so I won't leave you dangling. Thanks for humoring my ramblings. Please share any refutations, opinions, accusations, japes, or other ideas in the comments below. And please join me for whatever I'm up to next time. Bye now!
Bye, creepy man! Keep it creepy!
He's a weird guy.
Goodbye!
Crazy fuck.